The urgent need for a national police academy. Hello, my name is Edward Sonino. Thanks for tuning in. Following the recent videos of police officers using excessive force, indeed lethal force, against Black Americans, the nation, from President Obama on down, has concluded that the problem is one of racism. But the videos themselves couldn't be clearer that the problem is not racism, but of poorly screened and poorly trained police officers. If the police used excessive force only against blacks, one could reasonably conclude that in addition to poorly screened and poorly trained police officers, we have a racism problem. But the fact is that excessive force by the police has been used against white Americans more often than against Black Americans. As for the objection that percentage-wise excessive force against blacks is much higher than against whites, that objection is flawed, since objectively, statistically, blacks have committed a far higher percentage of violent crimes than whites. So, it follows logically that the police will have a higher percentage of confrontations with blacks than with whites. This is not to deny that there is some lingering racism in America, but there is much less of it than only a few decades ago. The proof is that the majority of Americans voted a black man as president for 2 consecutive terms, and President Obama remains more popular by far than either of our current presidential candidates who are white, Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. And President Obama would handily beat them if he were allowed to run for a 3rd term. What is extremely worrisome is that the nation seems not to be able to correctly analyze its problems, which is the only way to come up with solutions. We have had the problem of excessive use of force by the police for decades and decades, often documented by videos clearly showing that the police officers involved were poorly trained and poorly screened. Logic would point to the obvious solution. We need to have a system whereby all police officers are properly screened and properly trained. Indeed, we need to have all police officers trained at a very high level, and to have only police officers who are not racist and have the right mental attitude in general. How do we achieve that result nationally? By having a very prestigious National Police Academy with the highest standards, funded by the federal government, which all police officers nationwide are required to attend and be certified. That would not be in violation of states' rights, since constitutionally backed by the Commerce Clause and by national security requirements. Furthermore, what locality would ever object to having its police officers trained to a very high level at no cost? If a locality felt that their police officers could benefit from further training at the local level, nothing would prevent it from doing so. But with mandatory training and certification by a prestigious National Police Academy, we would be assured of uniformly excellent, highly professional policing nationwide. Isn't that what we want? Isn't that what we need? Haven't we had enough tragedies, enough memorials? How do all those commiserating speeches help the victims? Let's have a system whereby there are no more victims. As for the problem of poverty and crime, the only solution is twofold. First, making sure that all our youth get a truly excellent education from preschool onwards, with individual tutoring and mentoring for students having trouble academically. It is the best investment we can make as a society, and we can afford it, especially through a National Youth Corps staffed by recent college graduates hired for a year or 2. Additionally, well-organized year-long after-school activities in the arts and sports are essential for all disadvantaged youth. All our youth must get a great college education. What a difference that would make. Second, having an economic policy that ensures sustained economic growth, avoiding long recessions and high unemployment. That policy should consist of having QE finance tax rebates as the standard economic stimulus policy, as I explain in previous videos on my YouTube channel and on my Twitter site @EdwardSonino. Unfortunately, Our entire political class has demonstrated that it is not up to the task of eliminating excessive force by the police, not up to the task of eliminating poverty and crime, not up to the task of providing an excellent education and environment for all our youth, not up to the task of eliminating Islamic terrorism, not up to the task of formulating an enlightened economic policy guaranteeing sustained economic growth and very low unemployment. In fact, our politicians' distinguishing trait has been to run on vague platforms, evidence that they never had solutions and were only running for personal ambition and glory. So, if we want to finally solve our problems, we must no longer vote for political candidates with vague platforms. Just stating goals is not nearly enough. Candidates must explain exactly how they will achieve their goals. We must finally seek out and vote only for political candidates with very specific, detailed platforms with logical, convincing, concrete, and workable solutions for the nation's problems. Thanks for your attention.